Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm sure by now we have all heard about Daybreaks, all the stuff going on. July 2nd is no longer a thing. Now we're looking at August. I think it was 12th they said, or something like that. What is Daybreak's plan here? Because realistically, I don't think that they want to own THJ. I don't think that they have any hand in this game on trying to take the money. I mean, even Daybreak on EverQuest and things like that, the money that THJ has to be making has to be pennies in the bucket. Or at least it should be, hopefully, if they're running any kind of business at all over there. I don't know what their costs are overhead-wise for EverQuest. I'm sure it can't be crazy. So what is their end game here? What is the plan that they've got? Their lawyers, and I'm sure they've got very intelligent people thinking about this, going through these in their head. And I started thinking about it. They've already silenced THJ pretty much on any kind of future movement they're going to be doing. You can't make any updates. You can't make any new content. You can't even make new items. Anything like that. Are they just they're at war, obviously, but are they doing the long game here? Are they doing a siege? Is that what they're doing? Is this like siege warfare? Are they waiting out how long THJ is willing to run the server without any kind of donations and anything else, since everything's going into escrow at this point? Are they wondering how long the player base will hold out with zero new content? Because I think P99 will show you that players will play with no new content for years and years to come. But that's a whole nother story there. That, the average player over there, it could take years for them to get a max level character due to playtime restraints, things like that. Whereas over here, you can max out several characters in 2 weeks. So what is Daybreak's big game here? Are they waiting to see if they'll lose a lot of player base? I know that you're seeing servers like P99 right now have an influx of players, but from what I have seen, the influx of players has only been a couple hundred. Nowhere near the tens of thousands of players that are playing on THJ, with 4,000 being concurrent. It's got to be something else. I can't put my finger on exactly what they're trying to accomplish other than just battling out for their IP. I get the point behind that, but why did they come to an agreement to let everything stand? I personally feel like they're trying to kill THJ without saying they're killing THJ. I think they're going to let the time frame they're doing this run THJ completely out of content and have the player base either get bored and leave, or, I mean, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say what they're going to be doing, from their perspective, what they feel like they're gaining out of this kind of ridiculous, frivolent, in my opinion, lawsuit. I can't see why they would care over such little money. It's got to be a drop in the hat. It really does. Now, granted, I don't have the financials of THJ. If they've got some whales feeding them tens of thousands of dollars a month on top of, EOM donations, and almost said sales, EOM donations and everything else, then, I mean, obviously that could be something else completely to look at. You do have personal player characters in that little surrounding fire area in the bazaar. I don't know if that's because of their contributions via ideas, or if their contributions via old Benjamin Franklin. I don't know. I have no idea how that works. I don't know what you have to do to get yourself around that little campfire there. I would like to think that it was because of their great ideas, their great contributions to the player base based on their helping and that kind of stuff. But who knows? Honestly, who knows? I haven't been able to really watch the question and answers, so I'm not really sure if they're answering a lot of these questions. I know that they're going to be kind of hush-hush since there is an open litigation going on. But my thing is just trying to figure out why in the world they would pump so many resources into getting rid of some. Because, dude, the lawyers that they're going to be having to use has to be very, very expensive. I know they're on retainer, obviously, for a company like Daybreak, but they're going to have to pay them for all this. I mean, and I know that THJ has to pay probably a pretty sizable amount, probably tens of thousands of dollars, to be honest with you, if not more, to fight this. So it kind of makes me wonder just how much money is seriously circulating through this server to make all of this worthwhile. I know that the server has been in development for years. I get that. So this is kind of like the baby of these people, running it. And obviously you don't want your baby to get hit, attacked, taken down, taken away from you. But at some point, the juice has to be worth the squeeze. So, I mean, if they're spending their own money for a lawyer to do this, this server has to be making enough to at least substantiate that, I would think. Because if this was truly a hobby, right, then it wouldn't be worth it. It would be, okay, well, I'll go start another hobby. Or I'll use the same idea and go to an area over here where it's not, under open litigation. If you're seeing my hands, I painted my Jeep's hood yesterday, so they're all dirty, but I'm just trying to figure out in my brain, and maybe you guys can help me out in the comments, what would cause Daybreak, other than just fighting for their IP? I understand that if you don't fight for it, you can lose it forever. But other than that, what would cause them to go to open war with a server like this? And honestly, at what point would THJ owners feel like it was worth it to fight as hard as they're fighting to keep it open? Quorum shut down like that. Secrets was like, hey, I'm not made of money. Can't do this. Can't fight Daybreak. So what's the deal? Can THJ fight Daybreak? Are they made of money? Are these guys like millionaires that just do this on the side? I have no idea. I don't know. From everything I've seen, heard, listened to them speak and everything else, these guys are incredibly passionate about bringing something to a player base that honestly it was taken from. And that is, EverQuest has never been what it used to be. And they wanted to bring something to EverQuest to get the player base excited, something new, something fresh. And they did a fantastic job doing it. But in the same sense, it has to be pulling in some form of sizable financial return in order to be able to fight a company like Daybreak over, we're talking about potentially a couple of years in open court. So I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this. Does Daybreak have a point? Do they know something that we don't? Is THJ, is their financials somehow open to them to see through some form of subpoena or whatever that we don't get to see? Or are they literally just fighting to secure their IP? It's a question worth asking because we're all heavily invested in this server that have played on it. Like I feel like, well, there are some out there I'm sure that just do this as like a, hey, I'm going to get on once a weekend or whatever else it is. But I feel like we're all pretty invested time-wise into our characters, into, the development, the excitement for solo self-found, the other things that have been promised to us that unfortunately, due to what Daybreak is doing, we'll likely never see. So I would like to know the answers from both sides, because there's always going to be both sides of the story. There always is. Unfortunately, you're never going to have a situation in the real world where one thing is just a hero and the other one is a villain. It just doesn't work like that unless you're talking about some kind of like a crazy drug lord or something like that. But in typical cases like this, I don't think that Daybreak woke up one day and just decided to choose violence and just wanted to go ruin everybody's day. I just don't feel like that wouldn't make any sense. There has to be something underneath the veil of whatever they're doing that is more serious, in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't want to talk in circles, and I feel like that's what I'm doing because I don't have the answers. But I also feel like it would be very simple for Daybreak just to draw this out and put a stipend in there that this TLP, which is basically what it is. It's an EMU TLP with different rules and different fun, added to it, can no longer have content or progression. And that would kill it. Eventually it would kill it. And they have the money probably to be able to ride this thing out until the player base just wilts. Now, the only thing I can say about that is that if for some reason THJ won in the end of this, which like I said, I'm hoping that they do, the player base would flock back in herds. So at the end of the day, unless Daybreak's big final goal is to destroy THJ, they're never going to be able to do anything other than shoot him in the leg for a while. Because as soon as THJ heals, every single player would come directly back to it. They've done something that no one else has. Besides, I guess, like what Ascension WoW, I guess that they've done the same thing, like where you can do like a classless kind of thing or whatever. But there's a tremendous amount of passion that has gone into this project that is not going to just go away because Daybreak has decided that they want to, want to take it away. So I'm very curious as to what's going to go on here. I really am. But I guess at the end of the day, we'll all have to see. I mean, July 2nd came really quick. It seems like it's not been going on very long, but if you think about it, it's been going on over 2 weeks now. So we definitely, the time frame's moving quick. I mean, patience, I guess, is key in this situation, which I'm not known for my patience, obviously, but I guess my curiosity is just piqued, like beyond piqued. And you've got so many different viewpoints on it. You've got Broken's viewpoint on it. And you've got, the viewpoints obviously are all over the Discord, all over Quorum's Discord, all over the official EverQuest forums. And that's why I say there's no hero or villain in these situations, because if you look at these different, venues of allowing people to make their comments, you've got so many people out there that think that THJ is the hero and Daybreak is the big giant villain. And then you've got people that have played EverQuest Live for the last 18,000 years, and they think that THJ is ruining everything. And then you've got these other EMU owners, like Secrets and, a couple others, that are now saying that it's because of THJ that all the MUs are in danger because of quote unquote greed and everything else. So I don't know if these guys are raking in bukus and bukus of bucks. I know that there are whales on these servers. I've played with, multiple EMUs, especially on like Ultima Online, things like that, where you're going to have a tremendous amount of money being filtered through the server based off these whales that are going to come in here and do that kind of stuff. So, and that comes on every server. I think it's just to be expected. I've played with several of these whales that, on other servers that spend thousands of dollars in one instant to buy a big house in a special location, or to have a special aura underneath them that's different from everyone else. Crazy stuff. Not my bag for sure. I am not one of those people that wants to go spend thousands and thousands of dollars to have some special pixel or whatever else it is. Now, granted, did that make it wrong? No. I mean, these people obviously have the, additional income to go do it. Don't have anything else to spend it on. And that's, obviously their decision. I spend a whole bunch of money on a Jeep that breaks all the time. So I get it. It is what it is. I'm sure people think that is just the most silly thing in the world for me to go do that. So if you are one of those whales and you just spend all your hard-earned money on this kind of stuff or whatever else it is, that's fine. Do your thing. But I just want to understand from the viewpoint of this lawsuit thing and how all of this is being fought, how much is being filtered through the server. I know the EOM sales, I did the math at the beginning, you know, when it first came up and everybody was having to buy EOMs. Well, not everybody had to buy EOMs, but you know, you were buying EOMs primarily not to go buy bags and things like that. You were buying the EOMs as a gift to the server, basically, by keeping the server buffs going. Because there was a lot more server buffs in the beginning. There was like 8 different server buffs or something like that. Well, I think one EOM or one purchase of that was like 4 hours or something crazy. So if you wanted to keep the server buffs going like all month long, I think it was something like $18,000 worth of EOMs. I mean, it was a lot. Now, that doesn't count any of the EOMs that were dropping in game or any EOMs that were given out for, you know, helping out with the server, things like that. I know that one of the guys that I actually used to guild with, he now is helping out with the server on a more permanent level. And I think that his payment for that is EOMs, because I see that that's being donated, you know, into the server buffs all the time. And that guy's awesome doing that. So I'm sure that it wasn't the total of all of that. But and then on top of that, you were having people purchasing them to sell to get a leg up on the bazaar, you know, and be able to buy their things. You were seeing people purchase those to sell to be able to buy epics, which at the time, one EOM was basically going for 1,000 platinum. Some of those epics were 100,000 platinum. So, I mean, that's $100. Boom, you got your mage epic. Which that might be worth it to some people. Definitely wouldn't be worth it to me. I would go out and camp that stuff. I think that's part of what's so fun about this server is being able to go into certain DZs and be able to camp your own things. But if I didn't have the time and I could just drop $100, maybe that's worth 2 hours of your work at work, or, you know, 1 hour or whatever it may be. And then from there on, you dropped $100 to get a mage epic. Or there's also the investors that are buying in these EOMs and then spending the, you know, let's say that you can spend 1,000 platinum, you know, to buy an EOM. Well, if you waited until now, they're going for like 2,800 platinum. So at that point, if you bought in at 1,000, you know, almost like the stock market, you know, if you bought in at 1,000, now you'd be at 2,800 and you got a whole bunch of money. Well, people are also buying EOMs knowing that people were going to be doing that. So I am extremely curious as to what the total amount would be. Now, I don't know if they're ever going to release that. It'd be really cool if they did. I think that would show a tremendous amount of good faith just to say, like, because I've been on numerous servers where they tell you, like, hey, we've gotten this much this month, and we honestly don't need any more to do that. So, you know, from the rest of the month, you know, we don't want to accept any more donations. I've been on a lot of UO servers that do that kind of stuff because they don't want to get into a position where they're making too much and, you know, they get hammered in for things exactly like this. In the same sense, I don't know that we're making too much. I have no idea what it costs to run a server like this that has, you know, the ability to have this many players and has, you know, everything going for it that this server does, and has this many people, you know, helping out with the coding and everything else. So how can you say what it takes to run this? Because it's never been released, or at least not to my knowledge. I've looked pretty much everywhere I can, and I don't see anything that shows anything like that as far as a hard number goes. So I'd like to know, and I think everyone else would like to know. You know, honestly, even if you're not that invested in this, it'd be kind of nice to know, just out of the, you know, curiosity is piqued. You know, like how much are you really making that is literally worth Daybreak coming and spending tens and thousands of dollars, and how much are you making that you can afford to spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars in a defense? That's my thing, is like, what in the world? At the end of the day, I don't want to be in a position to where you're defending the wrong side. I guess if that makes sense. And again, I'm not saying that I'm on the wrong side. I'm not saying that THJ did anything wrong at this point. If for some reason they're on the up and up, they were only taking donations, this. But I want to know some more concrete facts, because I've kind of gone to war, in a sense, on the comment sections, on forums, on everything else, in defense of THJ And the more and more I think about it, I'm like, dude, why in the world would Daybreak come after him so hard? And only them. Out of all of these people that have EMU servers, why only them? And I'm like, dude, how much did they have to be bringing in to be able to warrant that? Because I don't think it was just player base. I really don't. And I'm not saying that Daybreak's dumb, but I just don't think they have the depth to look at that and be like, oh, yeah, well, like, I don't think it would matter if it was 4,000 or 400,000. I just don't think it would matter. I think it's got to be coming down to the money. I don't think that they made very much, as much as they thought they were going to off of their new TLP. And I think that it was, that they found out through their ways or channels or whatever it may be, how much money THJ was making. And to be honest with you, I feel like I might be on the wrong side of this whole argument if I find out that THJ is making $25,000 a month to run this server. I'm just saying, like, I don't know that that's the case. But I mean, honestly, and you guys tell me in the comments, what do you think? Do you think at that point Daybreak would be justified if you find out that a server was open, based strictly on the fact that, based on the law, they can't make this kind of income and they were sitting here making that kind of money or more? Who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is, I guess. But I want to make sure that I feel like I'm on the wrong side or right side of this instead of on the wrong side. And I would just like to have a little bit more information. And again, I don't think we're going to get it. I really don't. I think that there's no reason in the whole wide city that they would give us information on an ongoing case like this whenever they can't. I know for a fact their lawyer told them not to discuss this any more than you have to, other than what you want to be open with the player base on, which is, we're not going to do any more updates. We've been, whatever. Anything that can be publicly seen, I'm sure that they're going to cover. But I think anything else, I don't think they're going to be releasing any of that. At the end of the day, even if I found out they were making $400,000 a day, I'd still want to play THJ. It's an amazing server. The guys clearly have passion for EverQuest and turned it into something that the players can really, really get into and love. I don't want to be in a position where I'm like, man, forget Daybreak. They're the worst. They're the evilest, whatever. Whenever I'm sitting here thinking, well, could it be that quote this? And I don't know. I guess just obviously time does things to your thinking patterns when it comes to this kind of stuff, and just thinking about what could really be going on behind the scenes, causing Daybreak and causing THJ to put this much money into this kind of court case is crazy. I figured that I honestly thought that it was going to get shut down on the second. In the back of my mind, I thought there's no way that they're going to pump this much money into a defense on the THJ side. I had my hopes. I wanted the server to stay up. I just did not think in my wildest dreams that they would be like, hey, we're willing to spend tens of thousands of dollars to make this work. I did not think that was going to be something that was going to happen. But here we are. But anyways, that's pretty much it for my little rant here. I've just been kind of going over everything in my head and trying to figure out exactly what I could make of all of this in the midst of what's going on and how it's going on, and just trying to make some form of sense of it, and not really getting anywhere in my own head, just kind of going back and forth and running circles and just trying to figure out if there is more to this than kind of meets the eye, if Daybreak really is just on a witch hunt. Which, don't get me wrong, could very well be the case. It could just be the fact that they're on a witch hunt and they wanted to go after the biggest spread at this point because of the fact that they are pissed off that their new TLP sucks. Or if THJ has been making a tremendous amount of money and set off some high hitting radars, and in that kind of got them on the list of people to go after and things like that. So I mean, I'm sure at the end of the day, when all this is said and done, it'll be open for the public to see. I just don't think it's going to be open right now. So I guess we'll have to wait and find out. And then again, of course, we'll see what happens more in August. But one way or the other, they stopped all content moving forward for now. That in itself is going to do damage. Second, they gave doubt to the player base that they're going to be open. That in itself is going to do damage. I mean, it just is. Now, it's doing damage to Daybreak as well, a lot. I've seen the comments. I've seen the everything. I mean, it's pretty bad. Like, some people are saying that they're never going to spend another dime with Daybreak. But at the end of the day, I've said that so many times now, I feel like a broken record, but it's like Daybreak and THJ are suffering from this. So why is it worth it? We'll find out. Patience, patience, patience. And we'll find out. But that's it. That's it from me, guys, gals. Enjoy playing. Have fun. And we'll kind of figure out what happens in the future. I'll try to keep everybody posted. Obviously, nothing new has really come up with this other than the August date. So we'll have to kind of just keep our eyes peeled for anything new. Any kind of deal that goes on before that. I'm trying to stay on top of everything. Pretty butthurt about my solo self found. But I will catch you guys, gals, in the next one.